Tesla threw everyone for a loop with the release of the Model 3. There were a lot of design elements which are brand new. Some things like the grille-less front make sense for an electric vehicle, while other things have been kind of controversial. Among those is the dashboard. The dashboard is a very simplistic design and a departure from traditional vehicles. And one of the big things that is different from traditional vehicles is that it doesn't have classic vents spread out among the vehicle. It just has a long slit going across the dashboard. So we recently discovered a patent application that shows how this system actually works, and we're going to lead you through it today to give you a better explanation of how the buttons on the touchscreen translate to air coming out of the dashboard. So you'll see images of the patent application on the screen, and we're going to transition to a cardboard model that we made to represent each of the functions of the HVAC system. So what we're going to do is this side here is pointing towards the front of the car, while this slit here represents the slit that comes out and blows air at the driver and passenger. So we'll start at the beginning based on what we saw in the patent application. So over here is a flap basically that regulates hot and cold. So in this HVAC box you would have the AC evaporator and the heater core, and over here on the end you would have a blower motor that would blow air into the box. And this flap would be controlled by an electronic solenoid that would point it either to the cold side or to the hot side, and based on the controls it would push hot or cold air into the HVAC box. Once the air passes through the box, the next set of gates there are some gates here that push air to the bottom. So there's another electronic solenoid that if it's selected to blow to the bottom, it opens and your feet get hot or cold depending on what you selected. If you decide that you don't want it to go to your feet, then these guys here will open up. So these guys will send it to the vents that go up high. So up to this point, it's similar to a traditional system. There are some controls that send it to the feet, and there are some controls that send it up towards the top of the dashboard. So in this case, if it's selected to go to the dashboard or both to the dashboard and feet, then these guys here will open and you'll get airflow going up. Then there is another set of gates right above it in the main channel, which this is basically a duct here that can open and close. And what happens here is, depending on how you move the bubble on the touchscreen, that's how these get controlled. So if you're moving the bubble as one piece, as you see in some of the demonstrations, then these two gates here will open and move at the same angle. So if you move the bubble, say if we're sitting here and we move the bubble to the right, then these guys here will point to the right, sending airflow to the right side. If you move the bubble together to the left, then they'll move together to the left. If you decide to split the bubble, then that's where these will split. So these skewers here represent individual electronic solenoids. So if you split that bubble and say you want to send air out to two separate directions, then these guys can create a V or an A and send air to each direction depending on how it's selected. So that's a neat little trick that's shown in the patent about how the air moves to either to the left or to the right on the slit on the dashboard. Now we've discussed kind of two dimensions of the air, but what they've advertised and what some of the early reviews are saying is that the air kind of does a virtual thing where it can move up or down or left or right, and there's actually a very neat trick on how they accomplish that. So we've got our AC on in our Model 3. We have our flap over here set to the cool side. These flaps are open here, and let's say we've set it so it cools our feet too. Now we have the first set of flaps sending air up. So this blend door here just controls whether air goes up or not. This set of blend doors here controls the direction. So let's say we want it coming straight out, or let's say we want it coming out to the right. Now you've seen demonstrations where it shows the little bubble moving on screen in basically 3D, and you may wonder how that's done. And that's done based on this pipe here, which is a neat little trick. So we have air going up and coming out of the slit. But immediately next to the slit, which we'll kind of show here, and you'll see on the diagram that we displayed, there is another small pipe that's connected to the same outlet. And in that pipe is another flap with an electric motor controlling it. So depending on how you move the bubble on the screen or whether you split them, that's how this electronic solenoid moves the flap inside to control how much air comes out. So basically what happens is you don't really feel this air, but what it does is it creates a pressure differential for the air that's coming out. So these flaps in combination with these flaps, and based on what we're seeing on the diagram, a small valve that's here that adjusts that pressure, control how the air comes out. So although the air seems to be able to move in an infinite amount of direction, it is actually just being controlled by 6 or 7 different flaps and valves and electronic solenoids that push the air out similar to a traditional system, but because of the way this novel idea of how this is set up, it creates that pressure differential that allows the air to blow either straight or up or down and in basically any direction. So now that we've explained how it works, let's just do kind of a general scenario. Let's say you're walking up to your Model 3, it's very hot outside, you get in the car, you start it, and you want to know what happens for the AC to kick on. So the first thing that's going to happen is that the first blend door here is going to flip to the cool side. So we'll say that the cool side is the top and the blower motor is going to kick on and send some air into it. Now you've selected for air to hit your feet and in your face, so it's going to open the blend door for your feet here, send it to some ducts pointing at your feet, and it's going to open the blend door here to send some up towards your face. Now you've set your bubbles on the dash to be centered, so this set of blend doors here will open in a centered fashion. This one here will adjust as needed to adjust the pressure that's coming out, and you'll have airflow flowing up and out of the slit, and as it comes out, this airflow here will adjust the pressure and basically point it in the direction where it's going to hit your face or your body or kind of just envelop you in cool air.